Hello, we're back at it again. Look at us, one more week down, and we're almost nearing the end of the school year, and obviously you already know that this week is the ending of our research unit. And so what we're going to do today is, as you see on this agenda here, is we're going to look again at what you should have done last week with your body paragraphs, is incorporating evidence. We'll talk a little bit about how you translate that into a works-cited portion of your paper. And then we're just going to kind of add a few things and polish your paper up. And as you see at the very bottom, we're going to talk a little bit about how this paper is going to be graded, but we're also going to be talking about when the due date is, all right? So, if you need any motivation, I don't know, one of the things to keep in mind is this is the last week of your research unit. It's been a long unit. It's been for this entire time of this remote learning phase. And so, we're almost there, and then we only have a little bit time left for the end of the year. So again, if you're trying to find ways to make sure that you're motivated in a way that tells you, hey, we're almost there, I better get these things done so that I'm not caught in a crunch, that's what we'll talk a little bit about. But I do realize that some of you are in a crunch, and we'll talk a little bit about how to manage that as much as possible. I'll kind of show you what I see from my end, so that you understand kind of how I'm looking at your engagement, and also when it comes down to it, how I'm basically going to consider what grade you earned in this class. So stick around for that as well. By the way, if this goes long, there will be a part 2 to this video. Just be aware there may be 2 parts of this video. All right, so let's talk first of all about what's ahead of us. So there are 23 days, school days, until the technical end of the school year, which is June 18th. All right. On the 16th, that's when grades are due. So, I don't know what those last 2 days are going to look like, but grades are due in 21 school days. So if you want to think about that, that's only like, that's about 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks away, right? And then if you really want to, think about it, like the last time I'm basically going to be asking for you to submit something is on that Friday before the 16th, which is going to be 19 days from now. So time is limited, right? And we got to make the most of it in what we have, all right? There is one holiday still in there. I know this whole thing has kind of felt like a holiday, but Memorial Day is still in there, and that is next Monday. And next Monday, there will be no school, all right? All right, so let's talk a little bit about what you did last week, all right? Last week, you wrote your body paragraphs. And one of the things that you would have noticed in the examples is that you need to incorporate evidence within your body paragraphs, right? And so this is basically you telling the reader, where's your information coming from? What research did you actually do, all right? And what you needed to do is you needed to make sure that you've, in those sentences somewhere, whether it's in the main part of the sentence or in a parentheses at the end, you have given credit to who said those specific words or who actually conducted that research, right? And so if you're wondering about that, you need to go back to the paragraphs, and you need to remember that, okay, so let me move my camera down here. If we look here, ketamine began a clinical journey in 1970. During that time, it was primarily used for anesthetic procedures, right? And then here you have a parenthetical citation. This came from an article written by the person with this last name, Martone, right? If we keep going, right, in the 1970s, ketamine was introduced to psychiatrists and therapists to help treat depression. Results showed significant improvement in the condition of those who were depressed. Now, this was an article probably from the internet that didn't have an author's name to it. And so they made sure that they've at least listed the title of this article, right? So that, again, protects you from plagiarism. It also helps somebody who wants to follow up on your research to know where can they go to find the same information. All right. You'll see other ways of doing this, right? Dr. Dan, I'm not even going to try that, an associate professor of psychiatry and neuroscience, indicates that, and then here's a direct quote from him. Notice at the end of this sentence, there is no parenthetical listing of where the information came from, because this is listed in their works cited. All right. So one of the things that I'm looking at, and you should be looking at, because I know you did the writing, but you should also do some self-evaluation of how you think you did. Did you give credit where credit is due? All right. The final step in all of this is to take all of these things, boom, like this, here, like this, and also this information, and list it in a part of your paper called the Works Cited page. All right. Now, if you go back to the paper that I showed you last week, I gave you an example, an entire example of a student essay. You will notice that they did that, right? They included a Works Cited at the very end, and they dropped in alphabetically the references for those sources. All right. So, for instance, if we take this this sample paper, right here we've got a source. Well, it's listed right here in the Works Cited, right? Here we have another source by Crown. Well, C comes after B, so Crown is included right here. All right. This one did not have an author, right? So the title of it was Singulars and Plurals, and that's how it's listed here in the Works Cited page. Again, alphabetically. So you'll see that singular and plural was the last one alphabetically, so it is listed down here. If you did the slides where you recorded your sources and you did already the MLA Works Cited format, this is really easy for you. All you have to do is copy, paste, and make sure it's in the correct format and alphabetical, and then you have a Works Cited page. Okay? So if you need to, I would suggest you pause the video right now and that you go and you actually start doing that sort of Works Cited. The only way this is going to be difficult for you, well, the only two ways this is going to be difficult for you is if, number one, when you wrote your body paragraphs, you didn't cite your sources. Well, now you have to go back and tell us in some way where that information came from. If it's a direct quote, that's fine. If it's a summary, still give credit for that summary to where you found that information. All right? The second way this is going to be difficult is if you never recorded it down in MLA format, your citation. If that's the case, then you have to go back, find your article, wherever the article maybe came from, or if it was a website, whatever the website was. And then you need to create an MLA citation for that. And there's multiple tools online. All you have to do is write like automatic MLA citation, right? And all you have to do is plug in some information, and then it will spit a citation out to you that you can copy and paste into your paper. All right. So I'm going to kind of take a breath here, and I would like you to pause it if you need to. That's probably step one that you can do in this process of your final paper. Okay, so now if you're back, one of the next things that you're going to tackle is plugging in two more parts to your paper. And you can probably already guess what those are. That is the introduction, and that is the conclusion. Well, the introduction, if I go back up here, you'll remember that the introduction is an attention getter, a little bit of background information about your topic, and your thesis statement. So what is it that you're going to talk about in your paper? The thesis statement, that's pretty easy. If you've written your body paragraphs, you already know what your thesis is. You already know the order in which you've written your information. So now you just have to create the thesis. Again, you've written the thesis in the past. If you need to tweak that thesis, you need to switch it around a little bit, you need to rewrite it to make it even more clearer now that you have your body paragraphs written, then go ahead and tweak it, rewrite it a little bit, and then throw it in there. Background information is just a sentence or two that we as a reader need in order to kind of know what your topic is. You can't just jump into your topic. You have to give us a little bit of background information. So for instance, I talked to somebody last week. They were talking about their paper, and their paper was going to be about how the depiction of serial killers in films and documentaries has changed over time, and how does that influence the viewer's opinions about serial killers, and how does that influence the psychological treatment that serial killers get. All right. So, one of the things they could do here is they could talk specifically about maybe one early film that depicted serial killers in a negative characteristic way, right? And now, they might talk a little bit about the popularity of films and documentaries on Netflix, and that those have changed the way that we look at serial killers and what makes them tick. The one thing that you haven't seen is this idea of the attention getter. All right. So I'm going to jump down here to a slide and talk a little bit about something that I'd like you to do. All right. Number one is I've got a little short article for you in the classroom. It's called Hooks and Attention Getters. I just want you to read it really quickly. I want you to think about what are the types of attention getters that they're talking about. And also, I want you to think about what do you think would actually work best for your essay. I'll just kind of give you a little overview really quickly, and then again, I'm going to stop the video, give you a chance to read that article, and then do this thinking of really what's going to work best for your essay. So here's the real quick preview. All right. There's definition, quote, fact, opinion, anecdote, explanation, or question. You're freshmen. A lot of you have been told, one of the best ways is to either include a quote from somebody or to include a question. And those are the easiest ones to go by. So, hey, if it fits into your paper, great, do it. But a real quick warning is that's not the only way that you have to actually do this, right? So with that in mind, with these choices in mind, I really want you to think wisely about what's going to fit your paper the best. So you're going to choose one of the types of attention getters that would work best. You're going to type this attention getter as the first sentence or two of your introduction. You're going to attach it to your background information. You're going to attach it to your thesis, and that right there becomes your introduction. All right. Once you have all that together, I want you to copy and paste it, and then copy and paste your body paragraphs. And now you have your introduction. You have all your body paragraphs. And now all you're going to need is your conclusion and a title. All right. So since this video is already about 14 minutes long, I'm going to stop there. I am also going to then record a second video that you're going to come back to. But before you jump into that, I highly suggest you get the works cited part done first, and then you work on your introduction and you get that finished as well. All right. So I will see you back for part 2 of this lesson, and I'm going to post it, and you can consume it when you're ready. All right. I will see you in the second video soon. Thanks.